it's okay, a little bit. Okay. أنهي واحد؟ It's church.
Church.
Is the screen on, Yabi?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, very good.
I know we're very blessed to have Abuna James with us. He doesn't need introductions. Everybody, of course, knows that Abuna James has been St. Mary. And we're blessed to always have Abuna James or Abuna Inen whenever they bless us in any of our meetings. May God preserve your priesthood, Abuna, and thanks for making the time for us.
My pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Just, anybody doesn't understand English? Quite cool understands English. Okay, good. This men's meeting, I remember ever since I was ordained as a priest, like 12 years ago, maybe more, I've always wished that the churches would have a men's meeting, because the impact that I see in society and how the boys are being attacked from the media, it's crucial. Let's كده how many of us watch TV with our children؟ تتفرجوا على التلفزيون مع أولادكم؟ شوية. On English مش كده, right? Yeah. Can you think of any TV show that paints a good picture of the man as a good example? A TV show that shows a good example of what a man should be. And it's something you would let your kids watch and say, Habibi, I want you to be like this man. Yeah, بس دي من انت. Yeah, قديمة. It's like from the 70s. Yes, that's probably the last time.
We're trying to خليهم يشوفوا حاجات عربي فزي ما بنقول بنوريهم ونيس.
I know, I didn't. All I know from العربي كابتن ماجد. ده اللي أنا عارفه.
ونيس هو المفروض ان هو حد بيربوا عياله على الفضيلة والقيم والمبادئ.
كويس. هم فاهمين? Do they understand the Arabic? Okay, that's good. Actually, just for your information, another good one that was برضو made in the 60s, 70s and 80s is Little House on the Prairie. This is برضو is a good one. But you find now all the like sitcoms and all the shows that have the man portrayed, either الراجل مش موجود, مات, أو أهبل, من غير شغل, and you can't depend on him. Drunk all the time. على طول هو is the weakest link. Actually قلته أحسن is what they're showing, right? ففعلا when you watch the kids as they grow and they watch these men, they grow up to do the same thing. أنا مرة we were going on a retreat مع الهاي schoolers. ده من 5-6 سنين كده. So we were getting the supplies from the kitchen and taking it to the bus. فأنا داخل بقى الكيتشن شوف بيعملوا ايه، لقيت واحدة بنت اسم الصليب عليها ماسكة باكس كده وفوق حاجة فوق الباكس مش باين البنت فاي look and I see واو دي شايله كل ده. وبعدين وراها على طول جه واحد شاب كده لسه في 11-12 grade كده and he has a pack of napkins. napkins كده ممكن with 2 fingers. فببساطة كده خدت النابكنز، خدت الباكسز من الست من البيت، اديتها ليه هو واديتها هي النابكنز. انا فقلت له حبيبي when you see واحدة ماسكة حاجات كتيرة you ask to help, you help her. فحتة الاتيكيت دي أنا I feel like اللي عندنا الجيل ده اللي طالع they're in grave danger to be extinct. we have to be very careful. فعشان كده I love this meeting and I think it's so important not only of course for us but also for the next generation and we're the beginning of this. We'll focus on being the man that our families and communities need. طبعا كل الكلام اللي انا هقوله سمعتوها قبل كده بس ندردش كده مع بعض شويه. عندنا لغايه كام؟ 9؟ بس عشان حد بس يوقفني كده سيبونا 5 minutes when we have 5 minutes وانا يعني اشطب. Just كده some statistics in case يعني we don't know. They did studies about the impact, or they made observations of what happens when the father is not in the home. Either, yani most likely is by divorce or having children out of wedlock and things like this. Look at this, is from the US Department of Health. 63% of 63% of suicides are from children who don't have a father in the home. 90% of homeless and runaways children have no father in the home. Meaning what? When the father is there, they have like a 90% less chance of the child running away. 85% of all children who show behavioral disorders have no father in the home. 80% of rapists with anger problems don't have a father at the home. 71% of all high school dropouts, يعني اللي مش بيخلصوا high school, they don't have a father. 71%. 75% of adolescent patients in chemical abuse centers don't have fathers. يعني 3 من 4, 3 out of 4 people in those centers, they don't have a father. 85% of youths in prison don't have fathers in the home. 71% of pregnant teenagers don't have a father. ودي مهمة طبعا قوي for the girls, because the presence and involvement of the father in their life gives them a sense of security and stability. عشان ما فيش أي واد بقى يعني tell them a compliment يضحك عليها يعني having the father present and engaged is crucial. And then 63% of youth suicides, they don't have a father. But you see, this is very يعني حاجة تخوف. And you look, طبعا these statistics are يعني across all of America. نشكر ربنا it's not as bad in our community, but we will get there, because at the end of the day, after 20 years, هنبقى the same equivalent. And how do I know this? لما أنا ترسمت لو بصينا كده على ال percentage of families اللي فيها الطلاق. When I was ordained 12 years ago, it was less than 5% of the families had divorce in the family. In our church. In our church, yes. دلوقتي, guess what it is? 20%. 20%. الكنيسة العذراء عندنا في هيوستن يعني it's 20% يعني again يعني these statistics they very bad, but they're not far off if we don't ناخد بالنا, you know. I don't want to scare you, بس عايز اخوفكم. ده مش انا, ده the US Department of Health.
بتكلم على المجتمع الامريكي
Yes.
مبني على المارج ريزيدنس, مش موجوده. الموجود هنا جاست ارتباط.
بس انت عارف ان بس انت عارف, you know, for example, the percentage of for the African American community, 75% of the families don't have a father. Do you know what that was in the 50s? They had only 5% of the families didn't have fathers. 95% of the African American families in like the 50s and 40s had a father.
This is nationwide or Texas one?
No, and nationwide, in all of the US. And you can see, and if you look through the history, the criminal activity, and all of these disparities, it's proportionate, right? If we find ourselves trending from 5% to 20%, اللي يجي بعديه ايه؟ كل الحاجات دي. يعني we think كده, some people think طب لما انا اتطلق من مراتي then يعني هرتاح. Yeah, but your children will pay the price in all of these يعني categories. And طبعا when it affects the family, it affects the community, and then the greater community as well. In the beginning, after when God created man, he told him what? Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. The interesting, he says that let them have dominion. Yani when God created man, they were created to have dominion. Yani being the governor, to take care of what God created. How he didn't create the whole world and said, okay, use it. No. He said, care for it. Right? Care for it. If we can نشبهها بحاجة, our children. Right? When we have our children, we don't have our children to use our children, but we have our children to care for our children. Right? We care for them. We don't use them. For the same thing, God created the world and told Adam to care for the world, not to abuse the world. For this was our original calling. And then he says, out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. What does this mean? That God created the animals and Adam named them. If we still do this today? We still do this? Right? Wala la. Don't we name the animals? We do. If anybody discovers an animal, we name it. Even more close to home, we have our children, and who names them? We do, right? What's the purpose of naming it? Identify, yes. What else? But what's the difference between حد تاني to name a child and you name the child? Yes, you own it. It's mine. It becomes mine. So God created and He gave it to Adam to name, so Adam will feel this is mine. I will take care of it because I named it, right? And if this is why, again, He gave them dominion and He gave Adam the ability to name. Because he feels this is my responsibility. Today we'll speak about just 6 quick points. 3 of them will be primary responsibilities for the man, and 3 secondary responsibilities. The difference being the first 3, the primary ones, are perhaps something that comes natural to us. Most men might feel this natural inclination to do the first 3. The second 3 takes a little bit of work for us. But we'll try to go through them. So the primary ones. طبعا انتوا عارفين the primary ones responsibility بتاع الرجل. عارفين طبعا. هو أول واحد here. Provider, protector. ثالث واحد بقى. Leader. Right? Provider, protector, and leader. Okay? We'll go through them here quickly. Look what he says regarding men being providers. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. تعرف في كده موجة ويمكن الشباب بيهزروا مع بعض الشباب the boys, they say I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad. أنا خلي أجوز مراتي هتبقى دكتورة ولا حاجة وأنا أقعد مع العيال رب العيال وهي تشتغل. أول ما بسمع دي بروح نطط عليه. بتكلم ازاي؟ You're gonna be worse than an unbeliever. This actually this. If you want to irritate me, have somebody come say this to me. بتعفرت, What do you mean تقعد في البيت? انت بتعمل ايه? Actually, when the man stays home, he hurts himself and he hurts everybody around him. It's not for us. Our job, God granted us the ability to work and to lead and to provide and all these for the benefit of the people around us. اللي عايز يقعد في البيت will never be good. طبعا this doesn't mean مش بنعمل شغل البيت. هتكلم كده بعدين. Just عشان to be clear. حتى لو انا بروح الشغل ويمكن دلوقتي مرات بتشتغل كمان. So the responsibilities في البيت we split it. I remember لما أنا مش فاكر when it was in our life, but I think when Tasoni began to work, she came home one day after a long day of work and she says, أنا وأنا جاي في الطريق كده كنت قاعد بفكر واتكلم كده مع ربنا. هو and she reminded me لما ربنا he cursed Adam. He told him what? He told him that you should work and by the sweat you will till the land. And he's like, how did he curse Eve? I told her, well, you'll bear children in pain. And she's like, how did we get both? I have to bear children and go to work? Something doesn't sound right. فعاوزك دخلنا في حاجة تاني بس مش عايز اتكلمها هنا بس actually, no, this is actually the result of feminism. This is what the result of it was. You know, in the beginning in this country, they used to incentivize the women to stay home to take care of the children. They would pay the men more if the wife didn't work. But now it's the opposite, you know. This is another topic. Look what he says regarding to the husbands. He says, husband loves your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her. فأول حاجة we find that he gave himself, Christ gave himself for the church. Yani, it's a giving of myself, right? This is a provider. That he might sanctify and cleanse her. فهو, what is the man's role towards his wife and his children? Is that he gives himself and he wants to cleanse and sanctify. Marati and my children. By the washing of water, by the word. بكلمة ربنا. Right? That he might present her to himself a glorious church. So he wants his wife and his children to be glorious. يعني ارفع شأن المرأة والعيال في عين الناس التانية. Not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish. انتوا عارفين يعني the way that we speak to our wives is the way that our children will learn to speak to their wives. And the way that we hazard our wives will be the way that they learn to hazard with their wives. And you'll find as they're growing up, the boys especially will mix it. They'll confuse how we play with boys, and they do the same thing back to the girls. فلو أنا we wrestle with the boys, you'll find the boys when they're young, they wrestle with the girls too. But هنا بقى they need to have the discipline to know where we draw the line. And a lot of this comes, هم عملوا بحث, and they found that the rough and tumble play مع العيال, the boys, the young boys with their father, helps to train the boy how much we can play before it gets serious. For example, I can be playing with my young boy, they love doing this. They love to jump on my back and to wrestle and everything. بس then بقى هو بيبتدي بقى يلطش, and then بقى we stop the play. أو يقعد يحط عينه بقى صباعه هنا وعايز يخزع عيني. I said no, that's where we stop. فبمسك ايده. I said no, you can't hurt daddy. You can't hit him. فبتعفرت كده, بس he knows, okay, this is the limit. And then I have like 3 boys. في الوسطاني كبير ومليان, وبرضه صغير كبير بس على أصغر. فطبعا لو التاني ضربه هيكسره فhe knows, علمته when you hit him he gets hurt. When he hits you you can take it. فهو he knows when he بيتنرفز على الواد الصغير, he goes to his room وبيعيط شوية يرجع بس ما يضربوش. But he knows the limit, right? So this is the key, and this is important. So the men grow to know where the limit is. If you ever see your children speaking to other girls or their mother inappropriately, you have to step in. Say, لا حبيبي, you don't talk to your mother like that. You don't talk to your sister like that. خليك كده مؤدب. بحيث he knows where the limit is. This is very important. So providing for the needs of the family and the community. For providing for their needs, both spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Spiritually, we provide for the needs of our family by helping develop spiritual habits. بنعلمهم ازاي نصلي, ونقف ازاي ولما نصلي, ونرشم الصليب ازاي. I can't tell you the impact. And until this day, I still have memory of when Baba used to stand me next to him, and we had this little small little altar, and he'd teach me how to pray, and he opened the Ekbay and said, okay, you read this, وأنا كنت بتحته وبستنى. Okay, he was waiting patiently for me to finish لغاية ما نخلص الصلاة. But then we each take a turn, and then that's it. But as I got older, he would pray by himself وأنا أصلي في أوضتي. But the idea is what? He's teaching how to pray and how to stand in front of God. And like any kid, you get tired, you want to lay down, you want to sleep, you want to lay down. لا حبيبي, when you pray, you stand up. بحس لو الواد اتعلم كده في البيت, لما يجي الكنيسة مش هيبقى ايه يعني sitting and يعني playing and running is not going to be an option. أنا فاكر when I was younger كان my best friend يعني كانوا معانا في الكنيسة. Their dad used to always let them go to the bathroom. And I was jealous. مش فاهم هم بيروحوا الحمام ولا لا. But my dad says, look, I asked you before we came, do you need to go to the bathroom? You said no. So now you have to wait. واحنا actually كنا ما كانش في الكنيسة، كنا في كنيسة جريك يعني. It was only an hour and a half مش يعني ساعتين. He says, no, you have to sit here. فهم بيروحوا يطلعوا وأنا قاعد ببص لهم بس I have to sit here. بس خلاص you learn once you get in church you don't leave. ما من كده. Also answering questions about الإيمان. دلوقتي the kids, especially if they're exposed to the internet, بيلخبطوا دماغهم من جهة الإيمان, right? They're going to ask us questions. We shouldn't get لهم كده and say, هو ربنا بيحبك خلاص, أو روح اسأل الخادم. If we don't answer the questions, they understand two things. Number one, that it really doesn't matter because Baba doesn't know, and Baba doesn't care. So therefore I won't care. Do you think يعني لو رديت عليه كده فعلا هيروح يسأل؟ يمكن. But most likely not. Because you'll get the attitude من Baba. But if Baba says, you know, that's a good question, I didn't think about that, تعالوا نشوف حاجة. And if we don't find it, طب أنا مش لاقي الآية، أنا وأنت نروح لأبونا نروح للخادم ونسأل عليها. كده he sees, okay, Baba is interested, it's important for him to get the answer. And then even if يعني you didn't know, بس على الأقل you communicate to him that I want to know and it's important. Okay. طبعا serving in the church or the community, provider not only for our family but the community. Physically طبعا حاجات عارفينها. The hygiene, the eating a healthy diet. This is something that I'm struggling with. Tasoni's the health person and I'm the junk person. So the kids know this. You know, when mama leaves, Baba, can we have a cookie? Concern and care when someone is sick. ودي برضو حتة يعني حلوة قوي. Oftentimes what the kids remember about our parents are the times that were most impactful. But usually you'll find يعني they remember things كده, but when they really need you, those are the times they really remember. If you talk with anybody يعني who had يعني a rough upbringing, and they'll say, what memory do you have of your father? They'll say, I remember when I needed him this time, he left. He wasn't there. فدي طبعا this is what sticks with them. يعني for one of them, for example, راح المستشفى. طب أنا رحت المستشفى وبابا ما جاليش. Mama was there the whole time وبابا كان traveling أو كان يعني في الشغل وما جاش. طبعا this is something that will stick with them. But when they get sick and they really need me, and I'm able to leave everything, حتى الشغل وأجي لهم, they understand that this means that I'm the most important thing in Baba's life, you know. طبعا the same thing for our wives, يعني same thing. Emotionally and psychologically, there's emotional support, of course, and expressing your love to your children and your wife, very important. When it comes to our wife, we express love in the way that she understands. يعني هي بتحب حاجة أنا أعملها عشان مش عشان أنا بحبها عشان هي بتحبها, right? But when it comes to our children, we communicate love to our children in the way that they need. Why? Because هم لسه they don't understand what they need. يعني I would recommend all of you. There's a course about among the leadership about the different personalities. The 6 personality types and what their needs are. I remember me and Tasoni, we took this course and then we identified what kind of personality one of my sons are. And he has a tough personality. But one of the ways that you get to this person is by touch. By touch. I remember one day كان متنرفز بيزعق فينا ويشتمنا كل حاجة. فبدل ما thank God I wasn't there أنا ما كنتش موجود. بس Tasoni was there and she was telling me, I remembered reading this in the book, and I went to him. I didn't really say anything, and she just started rubbing him. But then and then like he was really angry, and then he started calming down, and then by like a few minutes, كان بيحضنها ومبتسم كل حاجة. She didn't really say anything. She just did this. So he doesn't know this. As we know this, right? For this is what I mean, we communicate love to them in the way that they need, because هم لسه مش داريانين. But as they grow and mature into adults, they usually understand how it is that they like to receive love, and that's what we communicate to them. But when they're young, we have to know the way. Show them your approval and don't make it difficult. Sometimes we have a certain standard for our children and even for our wives, and unless they get full mark, they don't get our approval. فالواد لاني دخل امتحان وجاب فيه 92 أول حاجة ما جبتش 100 ليه؟ If that's the first thing I say, he always feel like I can't get Baba's approval. مهما كان. I tried my hardest, I studied, ذاكرت, but I got a 92. طب ال 92 وحش. It's still in it, it's good. But you can say, bravo, Habib, I'm so proud of you. You did wonderful. You know, the questions you missed, do you know what they are? Why, Baba, aren't you happy with a 92? I'm happy with a 92. I'm proud of you because you worked hard. But in order for us to grow and learn, we need to know what we did wrong to correct it. So let's go see what it is that you made wrong on your test and see if we can correct it. But he feels like, okay, I got Baba's approval, but it's good for us to know what we don't know. Comfort them when they make mistakes. There are some children, it can be either or. Some children بيعملوا غلطة ولا الهوا تفرقش معهم. And then دول بقى sometimes تشد عليهم, so they understand that the غلطة وغلطة جامدة. And then some of them بقى from the slightest thing they feel like خلاص Baba's going to kick me out of the house, they hate me when I'm a failure. They have you can be anywhere in between, the two extremes. فكده with wisdom we need to know on which spectrum they are and give them comfort. Number 2, as protector. It says, husbands likewise dwell with them with understanding, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel. فنجيب بيقول لنا المرأة she's weaker than us. Not weaker كأهمية, not weaker in mental capacity, weaker physically. And this is true. What a man can do or what a woman can do in terms of lifting and physical exertion, the man can do better. And you can see this طبعا with all of the different movements that are going on now and how they want to let men play in the girl sports. It's not a competition. When you let a man race in the Olympics with the women, and he's going to leave them all well behind, even if he's not the best of athletes. For knowing that they are the weaker vessel, then we are called to protect that which is weaker, right? Our wife and of course our children. There are many biblical examples of men who protected their wives and their family. If you remember Noah, when he built the ark, he was protecting not only his family and his children, but all of creation from what? From the flood, right? So he was building this and spent years building it to protect his family. Abraham, when his nephew Lot got into trouble and he was kidnapped by 5 kings, Abraham with just his servants went and conquered 5 kings and brought back Lot. And he didn't even think about it. And he didn't say, okay, their kings, their resources maybe are more than me. طب زي أنا I have men, I have servants, I don't have warriors. هنروح نحارب معاهم ازاي؟ لا, it was impulsive, and you'll find this. من طبيعتنا, this is why I said a lot of this is natural. It's men in our inputs, when we see something, we act sometimes without even thinking. If you saw, for example, you're walking and you saw a child fall in the pool, even if it's not your child, most likely you'll jump in and save the child. Right? Why? Because it's in our nature, instinct, to preserve, provide, protect, right? So Abraham did this, perhaps even without thinking or calculating. Same with Moses, he led the people of Israel out of Egypt. David fought Goliath to protect the people of Israel. Joseph cared for Saint Mary. Do you remember, I didn't put the verse here. Do you remember when Joseph first found out that Mary was pregnant? What did it say? The Bible said that he looked for a way to put her away secretly. ليه? Because the only conclusion is there was infidelity, right? And the penalty for infidelity is what? To be stoned. To be stoned. فعشان هو he's a protector and a care. He says, no, I don't want her to be stoned or killed. Let me put her away secretly. عشان كده the archangel came and told him, no, she's with child by the Holy Spirit. That wasn't a sin. Protecting our spouse, we do so by providing their needs, so they are content and not tempted. What do I mean here? Is that when we fulfill the needs of our children, of our wives, they're not tempted by perhaps a nice word from a co-worker or something like that. Because this is how these extramarital relationships begin. الخيانة بيبتدي كده. When there's some unfulfilled need في المرأة, and then she finds it outside. لو أنا كل بنا بسمعه من جوزي إهانة وشتيمة وكل حاجة, أي حد في الشغل يقولها حبيبتي, she's gonna be like, يا حبيبي, it's gonna fall for him, right? Fulfill their needs, so there's no temptation from anywhere else. Of course, our children, we protect them from many things, against the evil currents of the culture, and we need to be informed of اللي بيحصل في المدارس وفي الميديا وكل الحاجات دي. We need to be aware of it. Of course, physically protecting our children, especially for the girls, protecting their emotions by validating them and helping them guide through their different emotions. Passing on wisdom and helping them build a godly character. And a lot of times what really resonates with the children are our own experiences. When they go through something and say, Habibti, or when I was your age and I did so and so and so, and I felt bad, and this is what the result was. When we make ourselves vulnerable to them, this connects with them. Sometimes we say, أنا راجل, إزاي أهين نفسي قدام my children. How can I make myself vulnerable in front of my children? It's not like حاجة وحشة in terms of our manhood if we make ourselves vulnerable to our children. No, but بالعكس, they understand that Baba and Mama, they have mistakes, but they got over them. And I remember Mama and Baba did a good job of hiding this. But I remember I didn't think my parents made mistakes until I was in high school. And then I realized they make mistakes. And I was devastated. It took me a while to realize they're people just like anybody else. And we all make mistakes, right? But if they understand from a young age that we make mistakes, whenever I get out of line, وبزعق فيهم أو بضربهم because of anger, not from discipline, I should go back and apologize. Habib, I'm sorry I shouldn't have said this. I'm sorry I shouldn't have hit you like this. But this teaches them that when we make a mistake, we take responsibility and then we apologize and go forward. So this is passing on this wisdom. Teaching them to reject lies and temptations of the world and how to make sound decisions, like how to evaluate good friends and bad friends. الحاجات دي كلنا I think we know and we do. عايز افكركم with probably something مفيش حد بياخد باله منه عشان ده في اخر المعموديه وكله بيتصور والبيبي بيعيط كل حاجه فيه هيصه كده but you really never really hear it. If I want to bring your attention to a part of the command that the church tells the couple after the baby is baptized. He says, guard your children and keep them from going to unsuitable places. معناها ايه؟ That we're responsible for where they go. مش مفيش حاجة اوكي بابا أنا عايز أمشي وأخرج النهاردة وأسهر مع أصحابي. طبعا most of us will say تروح فين وإزاي ومع مين. All of these are legitimate questions. And then our children will say, Baba, you're controlling, مش عارف ايه. Let them say whatever they want. They're saying this just to try to twist your hand. At the end of the day, I took a vow, أمام ربنا, to be accountable for where they go. So I must know where they go, right? مش عارف لو I shared this with you بتهيألي قبل كده. مش فاكر لو كان في الاجتماع ده. But a lot of times the kids would come and ask me. I asked Mom and Baba if I could go and spend the night at somebody's house, and they say no. I think it was actually in the family meeting last مرة. Did this ring a bell about the Lamborghini? قلت لكم قبل كده؟ No. قلت لكم مش كده؟ فاكر؟ Yeah. بس قلت لكم على المثل بتاع اللامبورجيني بتاع العربية؟ لا. فقولها تاني. When the kids come and tell me this, I tell them, imagine كده with me that you have a Lamborghini. I said, do you know how much a Lamborghini costs? I don't know how much it costs, but I told them $500,000. I was like, wow. I was like, yeah, it's a beautiful car and everything. Would you park it outside or would you park it in the garage? They say, the boys say we park it in the garage. The girls say it doesn't matter. That's where you see the difference. So I was like, okay, anyways. And then I asked them who their best friend is, and they say Sally or whoever it is. And I say, suppose one of the neighbors come, a random person, and says, so-and-so, can I borrow your Lamborghini? I need to go get something from the grocery store. Would you let them borrow it? And they says, no, of course not. So I tell them why. It's because I don't know them. They could steal it. I was like, that's true. And I was like, what about if Sally came and said, so-and-so, can I borrow your Lamborghini because I need to go get medicine from the pharmacy? Would you give it to them? Most of them would say, yeah, because I know them, they're my best friend, I would let them borrow it. And then I tell them, you are the Lamborghini for your parents. You're the most valuable thing they have. So if you want to go spend the night somewhere and your parents don't know the family, even if they know the family, they don't know what you're going to be exposed to, right? If I park my Lamborghini inside and you go over there and they park you outside under a tree that has pollen or sap and can destroy the paint, I'm not going to like that, right? So you're that Lamborghini. And usually after I tell the story, they make the connection, right? And they're satisfied. This is our responsibility, is to teach them. And then they say what? So that the Lord may guard them from satanic temptations. And then it says, sow in them beautiful qualities of righteousness and praise, purity, obedience, love, holiness, compassion, charity, justice, godliness, patience, and goodness. So this is a command that the church gives us. We have to sow in them. Sow means what? There's effort, right? We're not just throwing the seeds, but we're going to dig, put the seed in, and water it. Means what it is. You have to teach them these things. If we leave it للعالم or internet, it'll go the opposite direction. We'll go quickly for the sake of time. Taban, these are some verses about men being leaders. We can pass it. If we go back to what St. Paul said to the men about their wives, he says, for the husband is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. He doesn't mean this taban in dominance. When he says wives submit to your husbands, it doesn't mean the man should be dominant. And it's my way or the highway. Because if he did this, he followed immediately, for he is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church. Did Christ govern the church with dominance? وبزعيق ورأيي أنا هو الروح? Did he do this? Actually, there's not one of his commandments that he imposed. All of his commandments are, here are the commandments, I hope you obey them. I want you to obey them. If you don't obey them, there are consequences, but he never forced anybody to do anything. Hatta Yehuza, Judas, did he force him to follow him? No. He warned him that, you're the one who's going to betray me. Be careful. But he didn't force him to stay. He let him go, right? For all the commandments, they're not imposed on us. So how do I govern my home the same way that Christ governs the church? Or do I govern it more of like a king, an authoritarian person? Put the needs of your wife and children before yours, and good leaders breed good leaders. So good leaders breed leaders. If you remember when the Lord sent the apostles said, go make disciples of all nations. فالمسيح بيكلم مين؟ تلاميذه. فيقول التلاميذ روحوا اعملوا ايه؟ تلاميذ تاني. Right? For this is what we should have in mind. We're preparing our children to lead families later. عشان كده actually spoiling our children and doing everything for them is not good. في some parents يذاكروا لعيالهم. ذاكرهم means I do the work for them. I don't help them, but I do it for them. عشان يجيبوا درجات حلوة. This isn't right because you're not training them, right? The idea is to train them, and some perhaps maybe we can be controlling. Do this, and they give them no liberty to make any decisions or make any failures, right? So again, we want them to one day leave and be ready to lead a family, a church, a community, a school, whatever it is. Also, the last is leaders. Teaching and monitoring your children One is how to care for the things that are theirs, how to take care of their possessions. Explain life lessons like budgeting and relationships, responsibility, etiquette, church rituals. الحاجات اللي احنا maybe we learned from our parents واحنا مش داريانين. Like for example, I remember when I was growing up, I don't even know who and how I was taught. But I was taught when I was a kid, لما بشوف ابونا اروح له واسلم عليه. دلوقتي في عيال I could be sitting كده في الهيكل والواد بيعدي ما يقولش حاجه بيعدي ما يقولش حاجه لغايه ما اقول له حبيبي hi how are you John oh hi ابونا. There's no way he didn't notice عشان لابس اسود if I لابس brown او احمر زي the curtain يمكن I won't because I stick out like a sore thumb. Actually, if you look in the airport, you can find me. I'm an زحمة بس you can find it. لو في استاد you'll find ابونا واقف في استاد for sure. We have to teach our children these things. And also monitoring their media use and selection. في حد قال حاجة كده this is من زمان مش هنا خالص in a different city. وكان أنا كنت ما كنتش I wasn't a priest I was كنت خادم وحتى ما كانش في official setting. كان واحدة was saying how her and her daughter were watching like a TV series, and I know in this TV series it's inappropriate. في scenes and stuff that are disgusting, not because I watched it, but because people tell me what's in it, right? But I know these things. وفي مش عارف gay couples وحاجات كده it's terrible, right? For the lady was saying, and I watch this with my daughter to show her that and talk about what we see. إيه رأيكم في المنطق؟ What do you think about this type of thinking? So they watched على الحاجات دي مع بعض عشان يتكلموا فيها. إيه رأيكم؟
لازم يكون لها ايدج معين عشان الطفل يكون فاهم ايه الصح من الغلط قبليها.
Okay, they were I think in either like late middle school or high school. For this we can watch these things with them and talk about them. إيه رأيك؟ So I had to say yes. حد يقول لا ليه؟ Why?
I have a problem. When I start watching the TV, I found the rating. I found the PG-13 is really.
It's rated R. Yeah.
So there is a difference between PG-13 and TV-14.
Yes.
So.
But how would you watch something with your children that might have something that's bad, just so we can talk about what we see? طبعا.
احنا مش هيبقى زي النعام مخبي راسنا لان هي موجوده في كل حته في المجتمع.
Yeah.
فلما احسن يكون معايا واوضح له احسن ما ياخد المعلومه من بره غلط.
Well, this is what their idea was. Yes. Yes.
But I wanted to show them that it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Spirit is going to be presented it's a good thing. So
Yes.
I can't convince them with other.
Yes.
ودول اخوات في بيت واحد.
Huh?
ودول اخوات.
Okay.
The thing is, we get this in high school. So we get this in high school that some of the kids come and tell us about some specific shows that people like couples go together and live somewhere, for example. And then some of the couples are two gays or two lesbians or two whatever, and they teach them this kind of stuff, and it's hard for us as servants when they come and tell us. The problem is that they get a sense of approval that their parent is watching, and even if their parent is not accepting, but they get a sense of approval, and this is harder to treat. And it's not like the same like what Albir was saying, that I'm discussing a concept with them in the society that's coming, because at this point they're living in it with them day to day. They're actually waiting for tomorrows to see what's going to happen. Are they going to get together? Are they going to do this? And it becomes a day-to-day life that they're almost living in it, waiting to see what's next. مسلسل. Or they get attached so much, and the problem is they get the parents' approval when they watch with them. So it's a very, hard
Yeah.
thing.
ما هو مش هيشوف حاجه زي دي وهيكونتينيو واتشنج ذا ريست اوف ذا سيريز صح؟
No.
يوضح النقطة ويوضح
They will.
نقطته.
There is no.
لا
They
لا لا مش موضوع كده وهكمل معاهم.
Okay. Oh, this is the key. The other one they can بيكملوا.
So it depends on the maturity of the person or the child. So most of the time, like هو very good mature and he already knows about the concept and we explain to him before the show, it would be better than to see the show because sometimes even if you convince him this is wrong, it's still in his mind and he maybe keeps thinking about it. He maybe ask about somebody about other his like is correct or not correct.
So what if he knows that it's wrong? What would you do?
Once again.
What if you tell him and he says, Baba, I know this is wrong. وبعدين بتتفرجوا على الفيلم والسين ده جه هتعملوا ايه؟ هنكمل because he knows that it's wrong؟ هنقفلها. Yes. Well, this is the key because they will be exposed to some of this stuff from outside. And it's outside, خلاص, it's not us. But if I sit there and I'm watching something with my children and something inappropriate comes and I fast forward or I say, Habibi, we don't do this, and ونكمل. What's said is one thing, but what's done is another. It's not serious. Yeah. They know, but okay, if it's serious, then Baba will turn it off. But if it's not serious, خلاص بابا فوت أنا هفوت. والمشكلة هنا بقى إيه؟ الواد هيتعلم يعني تفوت بس it might as long as it might be in this kind of series, Baba will be okay with him بيفوت. بس المشكلة إيه؟ This, I don't know what the plural is for فوت, but if they فوت, this will become something they pass in other things that are much worse. It'll be much safer. It'll be things that are worse. And what I know is Baba's okay with watching, بس إيه هنفوت. Okay, it's not going to be too bad. Well, it's okay. Right. My parents already, they know that I'm watching it. I hear this all the time. My parents know that I'm watching it. And I doubt their parents really know. They may have watched a part of it, but they didn't watch the scenes that you're referring to, right? So it's important. The kids will learn from us how to deal with these things by our reaction, not by our words.
Sometimes it's the maturity of the parent. معلش يعني.
Oh, it's always, that's what I'm saying, so I'm here.
The parent
عشان كده أنا هنا.
not even of the kid.
من عارف هو this is the parent من الأول.
Some of the stuff the parents don't even understand it, and some of the words or expressions or whatever, and the kids of course understand it. So this causes us bigger problems when they're watching stuff that's full of expressions, even if it's not scenery, but it's expressions.
But here, we must be vigilant. You look at their reaction and demand an explanation. So they're going to have a reaction, if it's something that we think, for example, in Arabic, if you watch like something in Arabic, and then the fi shatima, ibn al, whatever, right? In English, that means like you son of a dog, all right? Okay, so what? In English, it doesn't mean anything. But in Arabic, it means something. بس لو حد قالها في العربي, we'll have an expression on our face. فالواد, how does he know that this is bad? Because of my expression, right? For the same thing, you can look at their face and gauge, okay, they said something and might be like, أي كلمة, they have different like sounds for different things. But they start giggling, they start laughing, say, Habibi, what does that word mean? Oh, nothing, Baba. You turn off the TV and say, no, we need to know what this means. And if they don't tell you, say, what is the word again? And then you go and Google it. You do your own research. فهنا we have to be كده vigilant. Yes, yeah.
هو ممكن يتعلموا من الاب او من الام بطريقه غير مباشره يعني احنا بنشوف حاجه مش كده نتعلق عليها مع ماما هم بيسمعوا يقولوا دي مش كويس يعني انا فاكر زمان مثلا شفت حد عامل تاتو على جسمه بتاع فبيتكلم وهم سامعين هل ينفع الجسم اللي ربنا عمله ده نشوهه بالمنظر ده بالطريقه دي وبتاع مره واثنين فبداوا لما يكبروا يفهموا ان ده غلط مش معقول نعمل حاجه زي كده ولما راحوا مثلا في حته وحب حد يعملوا من الحاجات اللي هم في الكنيسه كده قالوا لا ما ينفعش
دي حاجه جميله
يتعلموا تبتدي تتكلم في حاجه وتبتدي تاخدها واحده واحده وبعدين كل ما بيكبروا بتزودها اكتر وهكذا
هم بياخدوا بالهم من كل حاجه فعلا حتى لو احنا بنتكلم انا ومراتي together بياخد بالهم لو احنا زعلانين هم ياخدوا بالهم بس مفوت ياخدوا بالهم برضو. That's good. حد ما قالش 5 دقايق خلصنا. بس في part 2 بس خلصنا. ف يعني نكتفي على كده maybe يعني المرة الجاية نكمل. Although just to get you thinking كده, the 3 are commitment, connection, and modeling. اتكلمنا شوية عليهم. بس أهم حاجة the connection and the commitment. في أسئلة ولا أي حاجة؟
انا عايز برضه اضيف نقطه على الشو او السيريز اللي اتكلموا عليها، ان دي بتكون فرصه كويسه، بيفتحوا مواضيع مش من السهل افتحها من لا شيء، فدي بتكون تشانس كويسه ان بتوضح نقطه وممكن تدسكاس يعني. بس هقفلها بعديها. هقفلها طبعا.
Yes.
بس هتبقى نقطه كويسه ان انا نبتدي الكلام فيها.
بالضبط. ده ممكن تقفل وبعدين بنتكلم. Yeah. There's also يعني في يعني sometimes العيال their guard is down. I'll give you an example. كان في واحدة وأنا كنت شغال معاها أمريكانية بس كاثوليك يعني. وبعدين بتقول لي يعني أنا كان ابني في her son was in high school and she said you know every day كانت بتروح تودي her son somewhere. I was like, oh, your son does everything? He's like, no, but I just like to drive them. Like she'll pick up all his friends, like 4 of his friends, and they'll go play baseball, they'll go play basketball, whatever. They'll go to the mall. She'd always pick them up. I'm like, why do you do this, Christine? And she's like, well, when I get in the car and I drive them, and all his friends are in the car, I don't say a word, and somehow I disappear to them, and then they start to talk with each other. She doesn't say a word. حتى لو حاجة مش كويسة, she doesn't open her mouth. They filter her out, and actually our brain does this. كان في مرة حد بيقول لي there was it was like a business seminar about like يعني not noticing things. He had everybody كده in the company said, okay, there's going to be like I want you to count how many times somebody claps in this scene, right? So everybody يعني was watching كده this like movie or this show, and then you know they were counting the claps, and at the end they said, okay, how many claps? So someone was 76, someone مش عارف 72, مش عارف ايه, and then he asked, raise your hand if you noticed the robber who was dressed in like a striped suit walk across the screen. And not even half of them, like 20% of them raised their hand and they saw that. So that means like 80% of them didn't see the robber, and he replayed it for them. He didn't just walk across the screen. He walked in front of the screen, waved his hands like this, and then kept going. And 80% of them didn't see it. Huh? Yeah, they're focusing on the clap. So there are a lot of things that you can go. But she said, I just went and observed and listened, and then I knew, I learned their lingo, the way of talking, and then the things that they brought up, I can address with my son later. But sometimes there are, scenarios where, we have our children, they're under our eyes, بس كده in their own environment, وإحنا ودنا معاهم, right? And then you'll be able to get to know what's going on. Another time, like, maybe like picking them up from school. And if it's one-on-one, like you might get some of this. If they don't open up to you, get a couple of their friends and they'll begin to talk. ربنا يشكرك. Yeah.
بالنسبه للسكول هنا يعني ولادنا احنا ايه الرول بتاعتنا والاكشن بتاعنا معاهم، لان هم بيبقى في بريشر عليهم في السكول، مش عايزينهم يبقوا مندمجين جدا يعني behave as others behave. مين تايم مش عايزينهم يبقوا isolated. ده بريشر نوع تاني، يعني لو هم عايزين السكول فيها جروب فيها different bodies، يعني كلهم ليهم values مختلفه. عيالنا غالبا بيبقوا مختلفين، يعني غالبا يعني بيبقوا different than us. وساعات بيبقى ربنا باعت لعيالنا عيال شويه كويسين وساعات ما فيش. يعني ساعات انا اعمل ايه لو بنتي مثلا في الفصل no one they will be matching our values، مش عايزها برضه تبقى لوحدها، لان ده يعني maybe she's the right one but she's alone.
But do you sacrifice your morals because she's alone? Because if we do, this teaches them a lesson that we can sacrifice our morals. If you're outnumbered, sacrifice our morals. هل الشهداء عملوا كده؟ No, we're outnumbered. مش كده؟ احنا we're outnumbered. But we can't sacrifice the principle. But actually this is the time we teach them how to be strong, how to have thick skin. I was just listening to something yesterday, كم يوم كده, and there was this African American man who was speaking about, you heard of reparations, how they want to do for the African Americans, they want the government to pay them money because of the slavery. فالراجل ده كان واحد اسود, and he was saying we have to be careful with this. He said, why? Because in the South, there were, I think he said like 2,300 black free men who owned 25,000 slaves. So Masood, and they own Sood. But he says, okay, what should we do here? Should these African American landowners and their family pay or not? And then he brought the point. It was what? He's like, if you think about like, at the time of when slavery was, what happened to the people, the African Americans at the time of slavery? He said when they wouldn't allow us in the hotel because of our skin colors, what did they do? They built hotels for them. So they didn't wait for the other people to give them approval and an opportunity. But they took action and built their own hotel. But they were stronger. And this actually, اللي احنا المصريين كده في مصر ربنا كده, right? ولغاية دلوقتي, right? عشان احنا مضطهدين, لا احنا خلاص احنا نعمل حاجات بنفسنا. احنا نعمل our own hospitals, مش كده؟ عمل النادي بتاعنا, مش كده؟ We didn't say لا مش عارف ايه هم مش عارف ايه, and we just complain and nothing gets done, right? But the same kind of principle. When our kids are outnumbered, we have to teach them resiliency. Be strong. I know it's hard. And they make fun of them and everything. We have to teach them how to be strong on the outside, but soft in the inside.
نتكلم عنهم. انا بنتهز فرصه ان انا وانا مرجعهم من المدرسه.
Yes.
ابتدي في العربيه اتكلم معاهم.
Yeah.
ابتدي يطلعوا اللي هم لو ما اتكلموش وشافوا حاجات كتيره غلط في المدرسه وقعدوا مش متكلمين مع حد, مش متكلمين, هيبنوا جواهم وهيعملوا اللي دول.
Yeah.
لكن لما بيطلعوا يبتدي يقولوا ده حصل كذا, النهارده في ولد عمل حاجه فلانيه اخدوه عمل كذا, وانت بتبتدوا ده غلط, ده هتبقى مشكله كبيره, ده احنا نبعد بعيد عنه, طب احنا مش كده, طب احنا
Yes.
نروح الكنيسه دي, انت شماس في الكنيسه, طب ازاي يشوفني كده اللي يقول لا يا بابا انا بعيد كده.
Yes.
يبتدي يتكلم معاهم فهم يبتدوا.
بالظبط. And this is the connection that I was telling about. نتكلم ونعمل connection. Yes.
وفي نقطة مهمة قوي, انت بتربي ابنك لانه يبقى مختلف. كل ليدر مختلف.
بالظبط.
لو انت علمت ان يبقى في روح قيادة, في ليدر, هيبقى هو مقتنع باللي هو بيعمله, وهيخلي الناس حواليه يتأثر, وهيقود الناس حواليه, يبقى هو مش فولور, هيبقى هو ليدر.
Yes.
هذكر مثلا مثال دانيال لما امتنع عن الاكل بتاع نبوخذ نصر, ما كانش مكسوف,
Mhm.
بل بالعكس انا بيتهيألي لما قال كده وطلب من الرئيس ان ياكل اكل مختلف, بيتهيألي كان في ناس كتير قوي كانوا مستغربين وحبوا يبقوا فولور لدانيال.
بالظبط. And actually but when the kids are young in elementary and middle school, the peer approval is so important. عشان كده I can't emphasize enough المجتمع في الكنيسة. المجتمع في الكنيسة. if the kids don't find it في البيت في المدرسة, hopefully بقى they find it here, where all the kids احنا مع بعض, we believe the same thing, if we're on the same page, they feel a sense of community and family. And this is important because without this, it's very difficult. It'd be very difficult. I give a lot of credit to our parents اللي جم في الستينات والسبعينات. They came into a culture where there was nobody like them. And there were very few families. Where I was raised, كان في الأول 3 families, Coptic families. والمسيح شاهد, thank God, 2 of them had kids our age. لولا هم, it would be very difficult, right? For having this community في الكنيسة is so important. And this is why I'm imperfect, I'm not saying anything, but when I see the kids not dealing with each other well, في الكنيسة, I have to address it ككاهن. and as parents we should support each other, because if we don't and we have كده this fragmentation of understanding, then the kids will find okay طب what I see في المدرسة أرحم من الكنيسة. When I hear this بحزن. It's just so sad, right? Because this should be a safe haven for them from all that they face outside. فعشان كده having this men's meeting and having the family meeting and having the ladies meeting, all of this بيعمل ايه؟ بيخلينا كلنا على نفس الخط. مش كده؟ We might say أنا سمعت كل كلام أبونا قبل كده. فعلا سمعت كل حاجة وأنا I didn't tell you anything new. Right? بس دلوقتي كلنا we're giving each other opinion وبنظبط نفسنا كده على نفس الخط بحيث عيالنا يطلعوا بنفس الفكرة والجيل اللي بعده يطلع بنفس الفكرة. It doesn't matter اللي بيحصل بره، بس لو البيت والكنيسة في نفس الخط ما تفرقش. اوكي خلاص انا اتكلمت كتير. Glory be to God forever. Thank you for your time. Okay, thank you.
For an amazing topic and very important فعلا eye-opening things for how to deal with raising kids in today's society. I know أنا لسه عندي وقت الحمد لله. أنا